It's real. I didn't have my phone, so. No, come on.
It's good everybody's coming in.
It would be fine. Would be more crowded. I didn't see that many cars in the parking.
Not yet.
Not yet. People are late as usual.
Well, they're not late. We've got 5 minutes, but there's always,
Nope, no late. So is this different? I didn't join OCA membership last year, so I'm a little off with the zipForm. Is it the same as the regular zipForm? Access and working with it, or?
yeah, this is accessing zip forms normally.
Okay.
We're going to go over a lot of the basic tools. We are going to touch on some of the new tools that
Okay.
are being released.
Okay.
So given time, we'll go over that. I like to make sure that right now y'all have the basics down
Yes.
of where to go. But if you want to start using the new tool,
Yeah.
we can play with that today.
Okay. Awesome.
That's the only thing I've been playing with now that I think it's like gonna be a thing moving forward, right?
Yes, sir.
No point in really learning the old system.
The only thing that bothers me is a lot of the tools that you're using right now in the old system are not in the new system just yet. So like the spell checker, the fast fill, the NA fill, which all fills in like fast fill takes out all the pre-written legal text and leaves on only the lines from top to bottom. What else? NA fill. You fill out your contract and then you go to NA fill, and then anywhere where there's blank text fills in with the term NA. So now a client fills out, or when they sign a full filled out form versus a 15% filled out. So there's some nice tools. The photos feature is really great. I'm hoping that they'll add that on from the old system to the new system. We'll see, because when it comes to your contracts and things like that, it's nice to like your Avid and stuff. Oh, especially for zipForms mobile, we take a picture of the problem I'm seeing, attach it to my Avid. Now, when the client signs, it's all right there, right? So it's what you said. Crack in the wall, taking a picture of the crack. Now it's attached to the contract, just like an inspector, right? So now it becomes the judgment of the client to go, do I need an extra inspection? What's causing that? I gotta talk to an expert. Is that problem fixed? Don't know. Disclosures. So those are all things that I think are really helpful because you now disclose visually what it is that you're seeing. When risk management says you can't say certain things a certain way. And you can't say it's a big crack, small crack. You can't say it's a blood stain, urine stain, right? Because you're not the stain expert. So why put yourself at that risk? So many agents go out of that way, and then when someone goes, well, it wasn't this, it was actually that. Why did you say that without knowing? Well, I assumed. Well, now you're liable. So, I think features like that are great to have in the system to help you all out. So that's why I'm hoping that zipForms will bring those tools. Now, I've been gone to Kansas for a week, going through training conferences, like, hey, improve as a trainer. So I haven't played with anything in a week, so you never know. They might have added stuff.
So there is no difference between the zipForm and the zipForm Plus then?
Well, the zipForms and zipForms Plus is one and the same. Right? If you're talking about the standard versus Plus, there is a difference.
Okay.
Now, the standard edition is software that you download from CAR's website onto your computer.
Okay.
It's written in, it looks vastly different. It functions
As a
different.
Realtor, which one do I go?
You want to do zipForms Plus.
Plus.
Reason why, or zipForms Online, same thing.
Okay.
Reason why is that you can be anywhere in the world as long as you've got internet access. You can write up a contract, do whatever you need. right?
But
You can be on your
get-
tablet device, mobile device. Hey, how you doing? Things like that. Whereas the standard, it's on this one computer. It's on it, one computer alone. All my transactions are here. So heaven forbid, someone steals it.
Okay.
I've lost everything.
Like I said, I just joined after a year. So I still do need to download this,
There's nothing to download.
nothing.
Nothing
Once
to
I go
download.
with it, that's right.
You just go on the web.
Awesome.
Do I have anybody that's not logged into CAR's website before? Yes, you're brand new? Okay. So then this will be a fun class for you, hopefully. Not everybody's here yet. Don't close the door. Is it? It's 10. Oh, well, it's 10:02. All right, so let's do a couple of things here. Minimize that. Oh. On window. Wanted to be in that window. I am recording today, so everybody attending will get a copy of today's recording for review. So, I just wanted to make this available for everyone. Okay. As people check in, and you'll see here that the words are on the screen, just transcribing, which is great because now you can watch your video in perfect quiet and just read everything that we talk over. Okay. All right. So, good morning. For those of you who don't know me, because I know we're waiting for more people to come on in, my name is Anthony. I work here at Orange County Realtors. Been here now for a little over 20 years. Started off in the MLS department. Guaranteed I've spoken to everybody at least once, if not yet, eventually, regarding rules, regulations, violations, changes to your listings, whatever, right? What I'm also involved with is our outreach program. Our outreach program is designed to give you training on all your tools, not only here at the board, but at your offices. So ask your broker. Have you asked Orange County Realtors to come out to give outreach training? So outreach training just basically gives you training on all your tools. I train on MLS, how to run searches, how to modify listings, create CNAs, all that fun stuff. zipForms is our big topic today. From creating simple transactions quickly and easily, editing contracts, digitally signing them, and of course, all the advanced tools that hopefully zipForms will eventually offer in the new version. Okay, and of course, I love training on tech. Love showing agents how they can utilize technology tools to better your real estate lives. If you're here for this afternoon, I'm going over social media, starting up, social media marketing on Facebook, YouTube, how to set up your channel, your Facebook business page correctly to be DRE compliant, all that other fun stuff. And I hope you like to have fun. My whole goal is to help you go paperless business. Maybe not get rid of paper fully, but maybe get rid of enough of it to make your transactional lives a lot easier. Okay. So today we're going over zipForms 101, the introduction of zipForms, some basic information about zipForms. What we're going to do today, because zipForms started in November, introducing the new forms editor platform, we are going to go over that today. Okay. Because eventually, as these two systems, the classic edition and the new edition, are running side by side and have been since November, eventually the classic edition will go away. Right? Their whole goal is to get people who are using zipForms used to the new platform, but hopefully try it out, and then voila, the new platform will be here. So our goal today is to at least show you the new platform, how to add in contracts, how to add in things like that to make your lives a lot easier. We will go over digital signing using the new platform. Okay. So to show you how quickly and easily it is usable, and go from there. So I only have one person that hasn't even logged into zipForms yet. You just joined. Literally, you just came across the way, right? Across the hall.
Yeah, the last week, 5 days ago.
5 days ago. Excellent. So you haven't used a single thing. Sir, in the back, have you logged into CAR.org's website? Excellent. Young lady. Okay, good. Everybody else is logged in. So this is going to be a nice little refresher. Okay. So what we're going to start off with is always going to the state website, www.car.org. Come on in. Okay, from here, this is where we're going to access our state provided member benefit of not only zipForms, but other state provided benefits. If you haven't been to this website outside of just using zipForms, trust me, there's a whole plethora of tools and products that are at your disposal. Okay, one that I really love a lot is the legal hotline. We want to come here for any legal advice. You can give CAR a call. You may or may not know this, but you actually have access to their real estate attorneys for absolutely no cost. This is what your dues paid for. So if you're not sure of what terms to write on the contract, what contracts to use, give them a call. Even better yet, this young lady is writing an offer on one of my homes. Her and I are having an issue with our communication. Maybe, I don't like the fact that she's putting the screws to me and my clients about contingencies, heaven forbid, but I'm questioning her ethics and I just don't know how to legally proceed. I can now give CAR legal hotline a call or go on their hotline and chat with them for advice. Now, here's the cool thing with this. Even though we might be in both of us a dispute, if I give CAR legal a call, 213-739-8282, and I talk to their attorney, they're going to ask me for my name, my my NRDS number, and of course, the property address. Now, young lady, what's your name?
Mary.
Mary gives CAR a call 15 minutes before I give them a call. They take her information on the same property. CAR now all of a sudden says, I'm sorry, Tony, we can't help you because Mary's already called about some legal advice. We can't legally give you any advice. It's a conflict of interest. So now I've got to call another attorney and pay money to get the advice that I need.
So here's a question, excuse me. Are you talking about two realtors?
Two realtors that have a dispute or have an issue,
Not
maybe
the-
over. Nope.
Got it,
You and I are having a dispute
got it.
on how to work out something, right?
Yes,
And I don't know how to react to our dispute.
okay.
I give them a call, but if you had given them a call first, they are now tied to you and legally obligated to only give you the advice, not me. Whereas if I gave them a call first, then you can't get the advice. So if you're ever having a dispute or have a question about a property that you're working on, give CAR legal hotline a call. That way they can make their appropriate notes, tie you to that, and be able to work with you. Okay. That's my whole thing. Not that you and I would ever have a dispute, right? Okay. Now you also notice here the person sitting in the chair. This is a realtor of California. This is free advertisement. If you ever want to be able to have your picture up on this website, simply click on the agent's name because we can see here Kathy from Fremont has been a member since 1981. Just simply click on Kathy's name or move your mouse over Kathy's name and see the choice here, submit an application. Now you can apply to be able to sit in a chair, either red, gold, or blue background in the chair and get free advertisement, and you'll be put on a rotation. Okay, so this is really cool. And why is that? Because they do have a choice here that says find a realtor. So they do have public facing information for you as an agent, okay? Or public facing information for the public to reach out to realtors, just like realtor.com, nar.realtor, the whole 9 yards. Now, to access zipForms, very simply, here on the main web page, car.org, the person sitting in the chair, you're going to notice these 3 circles to the left of that person. Simply click on the big circle that says access realtor secured transactions. From here, we're going to scroll down, and under CAR member benefits, there is the choice here that says transactions zipForms edition. From here, all we now need to do is click on access now. And now we're going to actually input a username and password. Now, young lady, if this is your first time doing this, we need to actually register ourselves as a user. Okay. Now, how we register ourselves as a user, very simply, click on register. Now you're going to put in your NRDS number or your NERDS number. Now your NERDS number is not your DRE license number. Okay. Now, by the way, because we call this a nerd, that means every realtor you know, and everybody in this room is a nerd, right? And you know what that means. Us nerds rule the world, right? Back in the day, we used to get picked on a lot. Oh, you're a nerd, you're a brainiac, blah, blah, blah. Hey, we rule the world. Why we created, AI and all this other stuff, make our lives a lot easier. Anyway, that NRDS number is issued to you by the board. That number, if you're a member here at Orange County Realtors, it should begin with 2055 and then followed up with 5 other numbers. Then you're going to put in your legal last name, what's on your DRE license. So some of you may have a hyphenated name. Maybe you were just recently married. Double check your DRE license number because you actually have to go through a name change to get that changed on your license. Okay. Now, once you do that and you hit submit, CAR will actually, based on your NERDS ID information from the board, we actually take a phone number from you, right? We ask you for your cell number. CAR will now issue you a code, right? To verify that you are you. And if you haven't done that in a while, hey, good luck. Or that's great. But if this is your first time, you're going to input that code on the next screen. Once you do that, it's going to then prompt you to create your own unique username and password. It can be the same as your MLS, but it doesn't have to. Okay. It will be case sensitive though. So it will recognize capital letters, numbers, lowercase. No symbols are needed. As a matter of fact, if you're making up your password, I think the password is only alphanumeric, meaning only letters and numbers. It must be a minimum of at least 6 characters with at least 1 number. 1 number, so that means you at least have 5 letters. Okay, whereas MLS requires at least 8 characters, one of which must be a number. So now once you do that, and it says, congratulations, you've created your ID. And it asks you to log in. It may then prompt you, do you agree to our terms of usage? What product do you want to utilize or access? Choose the very top one that says zipForms Online or zipForms Plus. Now, Mary, you had asked earlier before class started, what's the difference between standard and plus? Plus or online is all online, basically on the internet, whereas standard, you have to download software. Now, I will say that standard is eventually going away probably this year because there's less than 1,000 users in the state of California using standard out of 250,000 agents. Okay. Anybody know that you had 250,000 realtor agents in the state of California? Yeah, that's a lot of real estate agents. All right. Now, once you do that, you agree to the terms of usage. Here it's going to say, welcome to zipForms, or welcome to Lone Wolf Transaction zipForms Edition. Scroll right on down and wait for this yellow button to appear that says continue to the transactions and then click. Once you do that, you should be taken to your transaction list. Now, for those of you who are probably seeing this now, every March, even though we're doing our dues renewal here at the association, MLS, every January, zipForms requires that you renew your account every March. Okay, so here all you got to do is just hit renew all, renew your account information, which it should have already done. I don't know why it keeps doing that. We'll proceed to the checkout. And of course, we'll just skip that. Okay, but it should do that. All right, so here is our transaction list. Now, this will be a list of all of our created transactions in zipForms for our buyers, sellers, landlords, or tenants. Yes, ma'am. You want a zipForm online. zipForms Plus, zipForms Online is the exact same thing.
Oh, the same.
It's the same thing. What you don't want is standard. So right above standard should say zipForms Plus or zipForms Online. Okay.
Okay, here's a question. So like I said, I didn't join last year,
Mhm.
but the past 20 years or so, I didn't remember. Now, this time when I went to zipForm, I pressed on transaction, it didn't give me all my transaction from before. Is
When
that
you say
true?
before,
Before, a year before. I
the
mean,
system
2 years
does
ago.
clear out transactions if there's no PDF files in them. Even though there may be contracts, if there are no PDF files, zipForms deletes them after, I think it's, what is it? 1.5 years.
Oh, so are you saying that,
They get rid of stuff that they feel that maybe you're not using or have not used in a while. So the idea is you want to be able to put PDF documents, like your signed documents and things like that, to keep the transaction here permanently as an online
but
storage
if
choice.
it's not, then it will go away.
It
That's what
will
you're
go
saying.
away, right? Because the system will think nothing came of the transaction.
Okay. Because before, every time I went to transaction, all my transactions. were
They used to get
there.
rid of them every 2 years,
Uh,
regardless of what you had in it. Now it's, they at least save the transaction if you have a PDF document outside of the regular zipForms documents in the transaction, which I'll show you how to add. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so here, the screen looks vastly different if you've been a member for quite some time.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks ago, they've updated the screen. So instead of a dark blue bar at the very top, it's now a white bar with dark gray letters. So they're starting to modernize everything. Here under the transaction tab, which is where we're at, we're going to be able to make our transactions. Okay, super easy to make a transaction in zipForms if you've never made one before. Simply, under your transactions, we have several tools, and I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you get to see this, what it's going to look like on your screen. Over here towards the left, we're going to click on New. Now, when we click on New, we're now going to be asked, what type of transaction are we going to make? Are we creating a new listing for a seller to sell? Are we creating a new offer for someone to buy a property? Are we creating a new lease listing for a tenant? Or I'm sorry, a new lease for a tenant to make an offer, or a new lease listing for a landlord to list their property. Okay, so here we've got our basic 4 transaction types. Select the one. So maybe today you're brand new, buyers are out there, they want somebody to show them homes, right? Anybody here have buyers? Oh, good, more than half of you. Excellent. So now we're going to select new purchase offer. From here, we're going to name the transaction. Now we can name the transaction whatever we want. And if this is hard for y'all to see if I can dim the lights a little bit. There we go. Is that too dark? Better? Okay. The very top where it says name, we can name the transaction whatever we want. We can name it the client's name. We can name it the property address. We can name it in a combination of the two. Whatever you need to be able to track your transactions easily and effortlessly. Now, some agents out there, if they're representing, say, a seller or a landlord, maybe they name the transaction the property address. Why? Most sellers and landlords only have one property, right? Buyers, however, they'll probably name it the buyer's name plus the address. Why? Anybody? They're going to write up multiple offers on multiple different properties, right? You want to keep track of all those transactions. Now, you're going to notice something new here underneath this. Now, this was added back in November, and that is the property address section. The property address section allows us to type in the property address of the property, which, by the way, if we type that information here, this will fill in on the contracts. So it's almost like a miniaturized cover sheet. Okay. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to name the transaction. Now, what I love about zipForms is that you can create as many transactions as you want. So today, what you're going to do is you're going to make a test transaction to try out all the fun tools. So, Mary, 123 Main Street. Okay. Down below, we can choose the category. What type of property are we representing the client on? Okay. Residential. Great. And then all we need to do at this point is come straight down below. And at the bottom here, click save. Now, when we click save, we now officially have made the transaction. Okay, super easy, fresh and easy. Okay. Here we can fill out information about the property. We're at the property summary. Now all we need to do is quickly and easily add contracts, right? Over here towards the top right corner, I'm gonna minimize my camera there. At the top right corner, we're going to click on the button that says all forms. When we click on all forms, the forms area opens up, and now we have access to more than 420 contracts to buy, sell, lease properties in the state of California for residential and commercial. 48 of which for the seller is required for disclosures, plus everything else in between. There is a contract for everything. Now, how many of you are super excited to go through this list of 420 forms? Just an idea, what? A couple? Very quickly and easily. At the very top right here, we are currently in the library of the California Association of Realtors library. So here is a list of all the forms. Underneath that is a search bar. Click on the search bar, and now we can type in, say, the form number, like RPA. Stands for the Residential Purchase Agreement. From here, you'll now notice that the forms list now automatically sorts to give me every form that has either RPA as part of the title or part of the number of the form.
We didn't have that before.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Now, here we find the form we need, and we simply click on it to add it to the transaction. Now, if we don't know part of the number of the form, but we know part of the name, like disclosure. Now the forms list sorts to give me every form that has the word disclosure as part of the title. Again, simply move your mouse over to it, click on it, add it to the transaction. So we can very quickly and easily, just with that search, grab the forms. Now, to edit the terms, all we now need to do is simply come over towards the left-hand side where we have the forms added, click on the form we want to modify, click on it again, and now we can choose to edit the form in one of our two editors. Eventually, the classic one will again go away.
Okay, so question, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Is it gonna give us all the disclosures, or is referring to RPA disclosures?
It will give you any form that has the word disclosure, whether it's commercial, residential, lease, whatever. You've got to know what forms you need. Now, how do you know what forms you need? You're going to need to talk to your broker or office manager, right?
So that's gonna go into the file.
This is going into your,
The file will go in there.
yes.
Okay.
So you're adding the forms, and now you're going to go in and edit.
Okay.
Now, by the way, if this is all you did, this is your job. How easy is that? We create the transaction in less than 30 seconds, and we just grab the forms. Now all we got to do, edit the forms, our terms, and print out the form. If you're a person that likes sitting down face to face, get a person to sign the form, that's all you got to do.
Yeah.
It's all the extra bells and whistles that will make our lives easier. Yes, ma'am.
Better to put all the parties in there first.
Or we can do that too. Some people, hey, I've got 10 minutes to get this transaction together to meet my client at the property. Let me get this done. This is what we can do. You can always type on the contract the parties' names, right? But it's all the extra stuff that we can do that's going to make our transactional lives a lot easier, right? Let me show you one of those tools. So there is a tool. If I can get back to our transaction list. Something I'm not liking about this new system. All right. When I make a new transaction, there is a tool here in making a transaction called MLS Connect. Now, MLS Connect is a really awesome tool if you're representing a tenant or a buyer. Why? Because you can now, with a click of a button, import the MLS listing information directly onto your contracts. Which is great. Yes, ma'am.
So basically, the MLS Connect is where they pull directly from the existing listing, so you don't have to fill out any of
Correct.
them.
So here, what I can do, does anybody have an MLS listing number we can play with? No, not a problem. We're gonna have fun coming up with one. When I click on MLS Connect, here it defaults to our MLS system, CRMLS. All I now need to do is type in the MLS listing ID number. Now, because our IDs, most of our MLS IDs begin with letters, those letters do need to be capitalized. So click in the box here, type in the number, okay, or type in the letters and then follow it up with the numbers. So 22017. Well, let's hopefully see if that works. Of course not.
Usually, the letters.
Let me see if I can find a listing real quick.
I've got one.
You got one? Excellent.
Yeah, let's go.
Listing ID, what do you got? That's okay.
So did you say you had to get the tape?
The video? Mhm. Well, it's not a tape.
Oh.
I don't think they've made tapes in 40 years.
No, I mean,
The video recording, yes, an email of the video recording.
you and
Yes, I'm going to email that to you. Don't put me on the VHS now. I know I look old, but I'm not that old. I remember beta. All right. Yes, sir.
2302907.
Okay, so here we put in the MLS listing. Now we can click on find us that listing. Now it's going to find that information as you see here, and now we can say use this listing. Okay. Now all we need to do is that when we hit save, we're going to notice here at the summary screen, information is now filled in. As a matter of fact, it's probably going to fill in things that we probably would not have normally typed, like APN number, year built, right? More importantly, the listing agent information, right? What the list price includes, excludes, things like that, that we normally would not have. So when we now grab a contract, oops, still have the word disclosure in there. And we open up that contract, and here we'll just open it up in the classic edition. So it's quick and easy. We're now going to see, based on the contract, the information typed in. So we now get to see the listing agent, the listing office, their dealer license number, plus my information, because I'm making the transaction. So all this easy, fun stuff. So this is a great tool when we're representing a buyer or a tenant, because now on those late nights, we can quickly and easily fill in that data without having to type everything from scratch. Now, this is not such a great tool if you're representing a seller or a landlord. Why? Well, technically, your listing's not in the MLS yet. So there's nothing to import until you get a signed listing agreement. And if you did try to import another agent's listing on your listing agreement stuff, you've now got to retype over everything. Listing agent ID, listing agent name, or DRA license number to match yours, not theirs. Not to mention your terms are different, right? List date, expiration date, list price, all that other fun stuff. Not to mention maybe the one listing that you found was 20 years old. How outdated is that data? Right? So not such a great tool if you're representing a seller or a landlord, but a great tool if you're representing a buyer or a tenant. Now, that tool is actually being changed. to be something different in this new edition, where it's going to accommodate some other fun stuff. Okay,
You're gonna teach us that.
I'm going to teach you that. Okay, so that's one thing. Now, to get into the nitty-gritty fun stuff. And let's do this.
Can you show us how to get rid of the disclosures that does not belong to what you're doing?
Well, you don't select the ones that you don't want to use,
Okay,
right? So you
Okay.
just don't select them. But if you did add a contract by mistake, simply without being in the contract, you see that little box
Okay,
here,
got it.
select it.
Right,
And now you get a list of menu choices, one of which says delete. And then say, yes, please delete this. And it should get rid of that form or document. Okay. All right. So now let's do this. Let's open up the new forms editor. So November. Lone Wolf has now finally said we are going to come out with a new edition. The old edition is about 15 years old. It's time to update it with new code and then make it to our standards versus the old standards. Okay. This is what we're going to play with today. So now when we go to modify a form and we click on that form, we're going to open it up in the forms editor. Okay. Now the forms editor eventually is going to be the first thing that after you make a transaction, you're going to go to today. So I'm going to ask you to suspend what we're already looking at right now. Okay. But as you can see, the form takes up a large portion of the screen. You don't see as many menu tools. Everything is kind of over here to the far right-hand side, plus some tools at the very top. Okay. We're going to tackle this one at a time. So hopefully, probably by the end of April, according to Lone Wolf, when they should be kicking over this full edition, after you make a transaction, this is where you're going to be taken to, and you're going to immediately be defaulted to, after you make a transaction, to the party screen. So you're not going to have a form here. It's going to be a blank page. So we're going to start off to the right-hand side first under the parties. Young lady, you wanted to add parties, right? Very easy to add parties. Look, here under the party section, we can add a party. Now, when it comes to adding a party, and by the way, you notice here, I'm already the agent. I don't have to add myself. I'm in my zipForms under my account. I've created the transaction, so it's me as the agent, whether I'm the selling side or the listing side. This is in the new one. So I'm already defaulted as whatever agent based on the transaction I've made. Okay, so that's one nice thing. But now I need to add my clients. When I click on add, we have several choices here, one of which says add a new party. When I click on add a new party, I'm now going to follow the prompts to add the party. So we see here the role. We've got buyer one. Underneath buyer one, we can type in their first name, their last name, their email address, which is great. So Mary Hart, and of course her email address. Oops. And then all I have to do is hit save. Now I've just added Mary to the contracts or to my transaction. Now this is nice too, because what's also going to happen, you may or may not know this, but zipForms does have a very simplified contact management system, a CRM. So as you had mentioned earlier, why we named the buyer transactions, the client's name plus the address. Why?
Because then you have your CRM.
I have multiple offers, right?
Yeah.
Well, instead of having to retype the person over and over and over and over again for my next transaction, all I would need to do is when I come over to add, look at my zipForms contacts. So when I add a party, they're added to the contacts of zipForms. So now it's a very easy click, look at my contact list, select their role, and select that person. So we're going to be a little bit more efficient now, being able to create multiple transactions for our clients because we don't have to worry about typing their names over and over again. Type it in once, set it, almost forget it, right? Now, It- As long as you save it, yes. Now, if I'm adding in another party, when I select their role, here are all the different parties that I can add to a transaction. I can not only add in buyer 2, but buyer 3, buyer 4, seller 1, seller 2, seller 3, seller. I can add in the listing brokerage, buying lending company, the seller's lending company, the escrow officer, the attorneys, the appraisal company, the disclosure company. I can add in everybody that I need to that's involved in this transaction. Maybe not on the contract, but at least involved in the transaction. Now, anybody here hear about these things called trust and LLCs, right? So maybe as our sample today, we've got the Bried Family Trust, or I'm sorry, the Hart Family Trust. Now, the Hart Family Trust doesn't have an email, but somebody needs to sign for that trust, right? How do I assign a signing representative? Well, here we go. If we scroll down on this party list, which by the way, all this stuff doesn't have to be inputted in, but if we keep going down, there is a choice here that says signing representative. So now what I can do is put in Bob Hart trustee and Bob's email. So now if we look at this particular contract that's already added here, we immediately see Mary as buyer 1 or buyer 2, and then the Hart Family Trust as either buyer 1, buyer 2. When it comes to digital signing, it will still have the printed trust name on the contract, but then the person signing will be Bob Hart trustee or BHT as the initials. Yes, sir.
So I see what you're doing is you're entering in first, middle, and last. Does that matter?
It shouldn't matter. It does and it doesn't, because each section, like the first name only has a maximum of 26 characters. The middle name has 26 characters, the last name. Problem is the contract itself is limited in these total spaces. So if you can get away with it, try to spread it out over those 3. And heaven forbid somebody's got actually 26 letters in their name for the trust name. Then we've got to, finagle probably addendums and other contracts to be able to properly have the trust name recognized. And then the trustee. Yes, sir. Did you have another question? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, how come, like, the agent, OC Realtor, and your name, the DRE license not automatically filled?
Oh, because I didn't fill it in yet.
How do you fill that on the back end?
Oh, I could go back under my party
Okay, just go.
and then just edit my information. So I can click my information and now I can fill in my DRE license number.
So this is going to be a replacement coverage.
This is going to be the replacement of the cover sheet.
Is there going to be a section of property?
Oh, yeah. Listing information offering.
Okay, we just haven't gotten there.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay,
I'm torturing you by going the long form.
jump ahead.
That's okay. I'm glad that you are. But here we can put in all of our parties. There may be cases where you have more than 2 buyers or sellers, which is another reason why the cover sheet is probably going to go away. Right? The cover sheet, I love that form because it's got all common areas of all the forms. Okay, right on it. Buyer 1, buyer 2, seller 1, seller 2, property information, offer information, the whole 9 yards, which I really love. And it's great for your files if you want to keep it. But nowadays, it seems like we've got more than 3 buyers, more than 3 sellers and everything like that. And it's hard to have that on a 2-area contract. This is where other forms come in. The other forms are the additional signature addendum, the ASA. The additional signature addendum allows you to designate the other 3 parties for signing the contracts. Now, the cool thing with that form is that those other 3 parties, and by the way, you've got 4 individual contracts, so you could literally have up to 16 people close to on those extra forms. Heaven forbid somebody buys a property with 16 different names on it. But it's coming down the pipe.
So that
People are
means-
starting to buy sections of a property. Like we're all investors and we want all of the equal title. You're hearing that nowadays.
It's going to be good for commercial too.
Oh, yeah.
So that basically will just be, the contract will be the original contract, then you have the additional signatures, and everybody's signature will be in that addendum.
Right, or all the additional people will be on those addendums. And what's nice about that is that those people just have to sign that particular form instead of the main contract. But you accompany them both together to say that they acknowledge that form that you're sending with in this session.
Okay. that makes
Right.
sense. Yeah.
They're signing the purchase agreement. Now they're signing the disclosures. You include those ASAs so that at least when they sign those, they've said that they hopefully have read and understood all those contracts.
Yeah.
Right? Which is again, why those forms exist. But at least here, we can at least get our parties down. Choose their roles, add them in, they'll get added to the contracts. Now, if we don't have contracts here yet, how do we get contracts and documents here? In this new edition. Back over to the right, under parties, forms. Under the forms section. We are now going to see that we have a work area plus any other forms, documents that we might have already pre-added. Maybe from a template. Or maybe we went in, added all the forms, but now we put them all here as available for this transaction. But we have a work area for whatever purpose. Now, the purpose I think I see for it, and I'll get to you, is that this now helps you organize your workspace. So maybe you work on a key set of documents first, then you create another workspace for another key set of documents. That way you just keep track of all your timelines. Honestly, I think you all will just use only one workspace. Personally, why complicate your lives? Yes, sir.
Does this page, link up with, Homes Advisor, or is there a way to?
We're gonna have a little fun with that. And that's actually one of the
Get out and jump back and forth.
correct. So to add documents or forms. We click on where it says forms. Now we're going to come over here, that big blue button that says add. And when we click on add, we now have a new forms platform. Okay. Suggested. Suggested, based on your type of transaction, this is your forms advisor. Based on the type of transaction and what you're marking on the contracts, will now give you a list of forms that you should be using. Now, right now, you'll notice that it doesn't have anything there because I haven't marked anything really on the contract yet, like dates and, you know, who's paying for what and this, that, and the other for it to suggest what I need.
So you do this after.
You can do this afterwards, at least hopefully. Now, I'm hoping that, because I've seen it sporadically work before I've even added a contract, it will say, based on the type of transaction you're using, here are the whole slew of different purchase agreements that you should use. And other documents.
So they're gonna add more documents to it now.
Oh, come June, I think they're adding another 13 contracts to your list. Gotta love lawsuits.
You know, I started with 2 pages.
I've known agents that say that they've started with a 1-page. Way the nature of contracts and laws work nowadays.
I remember the 6 or 8.
But here, the suggested forms based on what you're putting in on your contracts will now give you a list of forms that you should use. Now, it will recommend all the forms. So even though you're only representing one side, it's going to give you both sides. Which is nice because now, why didn't you give me this form? You know what? The system's saying I kind of need that form. Do you have that? So now we can communicate because maybe she doesn't know. Maybe her vendor didn't. Or maybe based on her situation, they don't need it. At least we can communicate. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
but what did you really do is say, these are the forms you need as a seller's rep. These are the ones the listing rep should be sending you back.
Mhm.
That would make it easier. Instead, it just crams them all together and you have to sort through it to figure out.
Which is one of the tools I'm hoping that they will get fixed and updated to do that. Because why suggest something when you don't know what you need?
And that's
So-
where your 2 what you were saying before, where it's gonna have second, multiple, layouts for your time frame. It should be, here's your offer, and here's what the listing agent should send back to you in the second one.
Yep.
So that if they don't, you could forward it off and say, where are they?
Well, and like I said, we don't have all the tools just yet, so they are working on them, which is probably why they didn't launch this fully as of April 1, which I'm glad. Hey, make sure all the tools work, then launch it so it's seamless. Now, the next is your forms library. Here, like with the all forms button that we were just clicking on, access to all the forms. Here you've got that library plus all the other libraries that you have access to documents for, which is great. You have that search button. Now, here, when we type in this information, again, it searches, but now say, I want that disclosure. In the old edition, all I needed to do is click on that to add it, right?
Right.
Watch. When I click on it, nothing happens.
Got it.
I now have to click on add. So the little quirk that I'm having an issue with, because geez, I've now got to literally click the add button. But I'm sure this is one of those things of, hey, some of us, if you're like me, if you've been up all day and you're clicking on stuff and you get that little finger hiccup and you accidentally click on something by mistake, this kind of eliminates that mistake. Okay. Now, there is a third option. For those of you who are the veterans in the business, did you know that you could add form contracts or documents to your transaction? Called what? Add forms or add docs button. Okay. Now the add docs button allows you to browse your computer or cloud systems to upload PDF files, Excel spreadsheets, Word documents, PowerPoint documents, or even picture or JPEG files. They are changing that to upload. All I got to do is just simply click on upload and upload documents. And you're right, I can browse my computer for those documents, or now maybe I have multiple windows open. And now all I need to do is find that document or form. So here we'll go to my desktop and go to my zipForms class folder. There we go. Find the form that I need, like that PDF file. Click and hold, drag and let go. And I can do that with multiple forms. So now it's in my list of the work area to start working on. So now we have
Any kind of
any kind of document.
picture.
This young lady sends me a signed offer. I can now add her offer into my listing transaction, and I can now upload it and then have that there, be able to review it, right? Now, right now, one of the buttons that we are missing are folders. So if I'm going to upload PDF files, clients' documents, other offers, come over to your folders and see if you can create a folder. Now here, it doesn't look like I can create a folder. Yeah. Let's see if we can create one. Say offer. Nope, there is none. Okay. So there should be a way for me to create that folder. Okay. In the old edition, it's called add a folder. So you could create a folder, offer 1, offer 2, offer 3, offer 4, right? Then you can go through and add in all those documents. Now, what's the advantage of that? Well, now instead of when I go over offers with a client and they see everything on my computer or on my desktop, right? I've now kept them going to their transaction and fully control what it is that they see. Right? No websites, no other things that they don't need to be privy to. They just need to see what the relevant stuff is. And if you're doing a Zoom meeting like we're doing now, this is even easier. I want to be in my transaction. I want to be in their transaction during our Zoom meeting to go over the contracts. And now they can watch me live time, write up my counter offers, my other terms, or whatever that in our discussion.
Over there.
It's not there yet. So I'm hoping that they'll eventually have a add folder button.
Okay, and then also with PRD license, once we hit save, like how we save other contacts, it should be automatic pull up in every other transaction.
Should,
Okay.
should. Especially if I'm part of my own contact list, but yes. You're welcome. All right. So here we can add in documents that way. By the way, we can come over here as we add a document, type up our terms, edit the contract if we want. Really easy. We just find anywhere on the contract, click on the line and type in what we need. Now we notice here that this particular contract has no address on it, right? Well, that's back over here to the right-hand side, the listing information. Here we can type in the listing information. Now, and sir, what was that? Dallas, what was that MLS listing number? OC 230.
OC 2302907.
Okay. Now here I need to get their information here, right? At the very top, it says import. This is now the MLS Connect button plus. What I mean by that, when I click on that import button, I can import the listing data or for the seller landlord side, import from tax records,
Name.
which will now have their names and things like that. So they've now given this a dual purpose. So now when I say import the listing, I type in that MLS listing number. Whoops. Let's just copy and paste. What I now have is the full-on address and everything else that we did with the MLS Connect from the property. Okay. Now, this has also got some other fun things here like list date, which that should be pulled in from the listing agreement, our list price. Some other nice things here. Listing side commission, buying side commission. So in current zipForms, we have that summary screen. Go through that summary screen. It's more than just the property summary. You've got listing side information, you've got listing side commission, buying side commission, your splits, everything like that, which affects a tool in zipForms called the dashboard, which is their entire business monitoring system. How many of you have a business plan? One person. Yeah. How well are you going to be doing your business if you don't have your goals set? Right? What's your goal for this year, 5 years, 10 years from now? What's your exit strategy? None of us want to work to the age of 95 and not have a dime to our name, right? We have goals that we want. That's part of our business plan. Our financial plan is a big part of that. zipForms with all your dates, missions, pricing, things like that that you are earning, the system keeps track for you. You just got to fill in the data. Because at the end of the day, on that dashboard, when you look at your year end and you see that you closed $300,000 in commission, and you look at your bank account and it says $10, what's the first thing that should be going through your mind? Where's my money going? This is why we have a business plan and a financial plan to be able to track that stuff. 95% of agents don't seem to have a business plan. 85% of agents do not make any money in this business. I don't see that here in this room, right? Everybody in this room wants to make it, right? Especially in this crazy economy. We need to be able to pay for our rent, our mortgage, food in our stomach, gas in our car. Heaven forbid we get up to $7 a gallon again.
Yeah.
Right? I love that. This is your full information. So type this in. Now, currently, under where it says the listing side commission, buying side commission, here, this will only allow for now dollar amounts. Whereas the contract will allow for either dollar or percentage. Okay. So just know if you're filling that in on the listing information, it's going to require the dollar amount instead. It will put it on the contract, but it won't put the percentage on the contract. And if I put the percentage on the contract here, because it doesn't recognize percentages just yet, it's not gonna fill in there.
The cover sheet doesn't.
Cover sheet does not have that either. I don't think.
It has a spot in there.
It does? Okay, then
It
it,
doesn't.
oh, no, it doesn't? Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
The MLS connect to that directly because it's a percentage instead of per.
Correct,
Okay,
correct.
but once that's fixed, maybe with MLS connect, that will also be auto.
Well, and remember, commission is also negotiable.
Right.
Yeah,
So, maybe you're wanting to request, but that's a different form. It's not, that's outside of the purchase agreement,
yes.
right? But you can always ask for more, right? They're offering 1 cent commission, which there are those in the MLS, right? You can always ask for more. It's up to you and the listing agent at that point to try to negotiate that. Or nowadays, with the divorce of commission coming down the pike, heaven forbid, you now got to directly negotiate with your buyer. Right? So you got those types of things. Now, by the way, besides the listing side commission, you also have, or the listing information, you also have the offer information side. Right? When you want to close, your deposits, your offer date, your expiration date. So here, this is now substituting the summary. You got the buying side and the listing side of information. Another nice tool is your clauses. I love this in your basics nowadays. What are clauses? Clauses are verbiage that you may or may not use all that often on various different contracts. Maybe based on a particular contract. Sorry, as I talk with my hands, my camera's not following me. Nope, it's not following me, but it's okay. I'm just now got my new version.
Keeps running.
Oh, it's listening to me, but the camera.
Oh, they can't.
Yeah. So clauses are great for those types of situations where your broker or office manager, or even your risk management team, if you work in an office that's got one, has said, if you ever use these particular forms, you should say XYZ on those contracts. Well, how are you going to remember all that information? Make them into clauses. Right? I've known agents in the business for 30 years, and they pulled out an entire book of everything that they should and should not say on a contract. Right? The moment you show them this, one gentleman was like, yay, I can get rid of all this paper. Right? To make a clause, all you need to do, come over to where it says create a clause, title it whatever you want, counter language, probate language, seller offer counter language, whatever. Okay, so maybe seller counter language. Okay, your broker has advised you to say certain things to help protect you and your clients and making a strong counter offer, right? So maybe the seller says something to this effect.
40 days plus 10 days. Right.
Seller counters with highest and best. Right? Buyer to give firstborn at COE +3, right? Secondborn due 9 months.
Oh, really?
Right, oops, if I can spell months correctly, 3 days after COE. And of course, let's see, buyers to cook or sellers every third Sunday of the month for 1 year. Okay, whatever you need. Right, we can have whatever we need, right? Because you can almost write anything in a counter offer, but that they would do that, but we get the idea. Now, how do we add this clause to the contract? Very easy. If you've been in zipForms prior in the classic edition, when you click on a line of text, you used to see maybe real quickly at the top left corner of that box, a pencil icon. Anybody ever see that pencil icon before? Sir, do you know the pencil icon? What's the pencil icon for? It's an edit or modify, right? And if you click on that pencil, it says, do you want to add a clause or basically clause manager or change the casing of the letters? It's a modified text, right? Today, however, when I click on the line on this new editor, the only choice I have here is add a clause. So simply click on add a clause. Now I can browse my clauses for what I need. And now say insert. And now it's inserted that text. I can type in there, just simply click back on the line and type in whatever I need. Or I need to apply multiple clauses to a form, right? Or to that line. Simply click back in, add another clause, find the other clause that I need, and insert that text, right? So it's all in there. So I can apply as many clauses as needed to whatever particular lines of text on a contract.
And you got the added clause by clicking on that.
Correct. I just clicked on the line and that button immediately was there. Instead of that pencil icon, it's now eliminating what that pencil icon is. It just says, do you want to add a clause? And if you've made clauses under your clauses tool, makes this a lot easier. Anybody like that?
Yeah.
Am I showing anything new to anybody? Good. By the way, I forgot because we're going so fast. Back onto the forms area next to add a form, we have a pencil icon to immediately begin digital signing. We can email, we can download, we can print, or we can trash documents, which is super nice. Back over here to the right, tools. Now we do have some very simplified tools here. We can add in text boxes or highlight features in a contract. Eventually, excuse me, what I'm hoping from the old edition to this new edition, this is where they're going to put their extra tools, spell checker, NA fill, fast fill, hopefully photos or add photos button. That way, when you click on the tools, you can now access everything that you need. Now, there's also an added thing here that I think you might like as well. Anybody here have a company disclosure?
Yes.
Yes, right? And sometimes you need to checkbox things or maybe type up certain things on that PDF document. For now, what we can now do in the new forms editor, find that PDF document. And now what I can do is simply click and hold on the text box or click on the text box choice, come over to where I want to start typing text and click on this PDF document. Now here, what we can also do is change the size of the font, maybe make it 12, maybe, we're going to keep it black because, most printers are black and white when we print anyway. We can bold it, italicize it. We can save that type of text, but just know that we can edit terms. Okay. Now, just so you know, you could type technically someone's name on the contract. So young lady submits her offer and on page 16, I now need to have my seller's name on that form. I could with this tool, type their name on that contract. But I'm going to show you in the new digital signing platform how easily to do that for your signers. Okay? Yes.
Can you do that?
Just to reiterate, so basically, if there's a PDF that's company specific, you can add a text box and you can also add like the signing box. So that way.
When I go to digitally sign, yes.
Okay.
So if I upload PDF documents, I can now not only, because in the classic edition, you can't edit PDFs, right? Not at least in the forms editor, but currently right now we can with the new one. In digital signing, not only can I drag and drop all the necessary signature areas and the initial areas on this, you can also add in printed text through that digital signing platform as well, which is going to be a lot easier. So you have two ways of getting typed names on a contract that needs it for your client side.
So one is here at the tool section, the other is the digital sign.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
yes. And then, of course, we can also give feedback. Hey, there's a glitch. I like the program. This is what I want to see. I would definitely recommend writing in some suggestions. Hey, where's this button? Where's that button? Can we please get that? The more they get 2,000 or 250,000 agents to make a stink about making sure that they don't lose out on any of their tools, the better. Okay, especially if you notice any glitches. Okay. All right. Are there any questions on this new editing platform so far?
Yes,
Yes.
just to confirm, we can either when we create the transactions, the ML text to import the listing information. If we didn't do that, when we come into the new editor, under the
Listing info,
we can import that again, so we have two chances.
at least two.
And then what's import tax record for?
Import tax record is great for if you're representing the landlord or the seller. So
Okay.
now what you can do is import tax data information. So not only the address, but the APN number, but the client's information. If it's vested in a trust or an LLC, that will be also added to the contract as well.
So that's more for the seller and the landlord side.
Yep.
Including the LLC and trust.
Yep,
Okay. got
which
it.
is great.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Let's go over some other extra things. Are there any questions on the new editor tool yet? Or any other questions? Anybody like this? Anybody excited about using it this day forward? Excellent. I like that. All right. Let's go back and let's make our transaction lives a little bit easier with some other tools, and then we'll come back in and do digital signatures. Okay. Do you guys need to take a quick break? 5-minute break to shake the cobwebs out, get some coffee, go to the bathroom? Okay, why don't we take a quick 5-minute break, come back at 11:15. And then what we'll do is we'll go over creating templates and then digital signing using new Authentisign. Is that okay? All right. And then I'll take any other questions while we're sitting here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna walk up.
Yeah, come on up.
So, you didn't come, I had to step out, I apologize. I
That's
didn't
okay.
recall. But, did you cover the forms advisor at all when I stepped out? Okay, are you gonna cover that?
Do you want me to go? I can go.
It
I
would
can
be
go.
nice because that's something. Importing it into a transaction.
That's been very glitchy for the past year and a half. And I've asked them to fix that tool. And depending on who you talk to, they say it's the other person's problem. So if you
Right.
talk to Lone Wolf, they say, well, we didn't make that product. You need to talk to CAR Legal. You talk to CAR Legal, they're working on it, but they're working with Lone Wolf in getting that problem resolved. So it's a hit or miss.
Yeah,
Some days
sometimes you
it
can
works.
find You can import it, sometimes it's not.
But what I also like is print your screen.
That's
So
what-
you could use Forms Advisor to get the
Get the
list of
list.
core forms that you need and then go from there.
Pick out which one. And then second, did you cover how to, can you copy a transaction?
No, I didn't, but it's really easy. You want me to show you?
Yeah.
Okay. So to copy a transaction,
And just so you know, it doesn't always put your information.
it should,
It should, but it doesn't.
yeah.
I've been forcing myself to move over classics. So.
Most of us, like myself, have too. Right now, I think it's still a little glitchy on mobile.
I was one of the 1,000 that was still on the download.
Well, the one problem that I have with the new edition is it doesn't give you a choice if you're on mobile to touch sign contracts. Meaning where you can have the client physically on your tablet, have them physically write and sign their name. In the new edition, it doesn't have room for that right now. So I'm hoping that they'll have some sort of workaround on that. Let's see here. So you want to copy a transaction. Very easy to do. All you need to do is select the transaction you want to copy. And at the very top here, there should be, oh, I'm sorry. Nope, they don't have it here. Move your mouse over to the top of the transaction. Click on that down arrow. And there is a choice here that says, if I can read, this is a problem. No, not import, but it does say copy. There it is, third one. You would think I would be able to read without glasses. When you hit copy. Now, the thing you got to be careful of copy. It will copy not only every contract, but it will copy all the terms, all the documents, everything, right? So now what you need to now be careful of is when you go through this new transaction, taking out any terms like addresses, things like that from the previous transaction. So if you're talking about PDF documents, you delete those because you've already got them in the prior one.
So
And-
it's not gonna be as easy as if you wanted to do a second copy.
It can be that easy of copying it, but then you've got to do your diligence to go through the contract, making sure that you don't accidentally have any terms for the other transaction and this one. Which, like, oh, well, you're you're only offering this. Oh, I forgot to change the offer price. Now you gotta go back in and re-sign stuff. Or heaven forbid, you ask for certain items and the listing agent goes, we don't have these items. What's that? Oh, I forgot to check them out. But there's also another tool here that I like.
It might be better to just
Well-
save the canned forms and templates and.
Templates are great for your canned stuff because you can grab the documents and then use the MLS Connect or import to pull over the listing information. But say you've got those PDF files in here, right? So let's see here if we can open this up. When I'm in the documents area of the transaction, and I might have that PDF, when I select it, there is a choice that says copy. And now what I can do is, oh, that's because it's an unsigned form. Let me do this. Let me find another transaction that's got documents in it or PDFs. What you can, and of course, I choose one that doesn't. Where's my 1, 2, 3? I hope they didn't delete my transaction. It looks like they did. That's got my PDF files in it.
Huh?
You gotta call it do not delete.
I wish. All right. I'm sorry. What should happen is we'll just add a PDF. What the heck? Here we go. Say this was like my client's financials, but they've got 3 or 4 other transactions that they're writing up. What I can now do is I can select them. And there is a choice that when I select copy, I can now pick what transaction to put those documents in. So if there's like 2 or 3 of them, I can, I used to be able to select multiples, but I guess I can only select the one. And now when I say, where is it?
Where you hold the control button,
Not for the check boxes, unfortunately.
it won't work.
I can come down below and click on copy, and now it takes these documents and puts a copy of those PDFs in that. So it's a great way of being able to get over other documents into other transactions for my buyer or tenant. Like maybe their FICO score or their, proof of funds, whatever, to be able to get those documents quickly and easily over. So you have those types of tools. Whereas before you used to have to only come in, say, add a doc, and then browse your computer for those documents and go from there. But yeah, I mean, I think that's fun. All right. 1116, excellent. All right. So the next thing that we're going to go over real quickly here is templates. Now, in the new forms editor right now, currently, it does not have a button yet to apply a template to a transaction. But doesn't mean that you can't apply templates currently when you make the transaction, which is good. Now, if you don't know what a template is basically a core set of forms and terms that you negotiate for about 95% of your clients. Think of it like a template as a stencil. Anybody know what stencils are? Remember the old days? Well, most of you are too young to remember this. We used to have a little contraption and it had a little wheel. You stuck your pencil in it, and all of a sudden you got to draw all these real cool shapes by just doing this with your pencil, right? Template's kind of the same thing, right? Here, what we're going to do is we're going to be able to put together a core set of forms that we are always using, put in some generic terms that we negotiate for about 95% of your clients. That way we can apply it to a transaction or multiple transactions quickly and easily. A template can save you anywhere from between 5 to 15 minutes per transaction. So if you're dealing with 5 or 6 transactions a day, or for a particular client, you've saved yourself a good half hour. It's easy. Okay. So how we make a template. Next to where it says transactions at the very top, there is a choice here that says templates. When we click on templates, we now have a choice that says forms and checklists. Just click on forms and checklists. Now, at this point, this will now give you every template that you currently have created. If you've never created any, guess what? This is blank. Well, it doesn't go away. It's just not there. So if you've never made one, there's nothing here. So how do we make one? Like making a transaction, we're going to come over here towards the top left side. We're going to click on new. Now, what type of template we're going to make? One for a seller, one for a buyer, one for a tenant, one for a landlord. Let's make a purchase template today. Now we're going to name it. You notice here there is no address. Why? Address is property specific, transaction specific. When we name this template, we're going to name it client property generic. So maybe we call it purchase, buyer, standard sale purchase, short sale purchase, REO purchase, probate purchase. We're creating a listing template. Maybe we call it listing, seller, standard sale, short sale, REO sale, whatever, right? We name it. We choose the category. Now, what you're also going to do is you're going to indicate that you do not want this to automatically apply. Why? Because you want to be in control over what templates get applied to what transactions. Now, the nice thing about templates is that you can apply multiple templates to transactions. Okay. If you chose any of these other choices, like in this case, because this is a purchase template, it says automatically apply this to any purchase transaction. Well, do I want my standard sale purchase transaction for a probate purchase or an auction? No. Right? Just like I don't want this applied to every transaction. Because what happens if I represent a tenant or a seller? Do I want my purchase template to be applied? No. Leave it at do not automatically apply. Now from here, hit save. Once we do that, now what we can do, come over to all forms, add the forms. Now, how do you know what forms you might need? Well, this is where our broker and office manager will come into play. Some of you work at offices where they've given you a list of forms and documents that are required for every transaction, right? Take that list and now search for your forms, right? Usually that list has the form by its number, right? Find it, add it. Now, do you need to add in every form to one template? No. Like for your seller's template. What's the bare minimum that you might need to get a seller to list a home? Listing agreement, which already has the AD, the PRVS, the wire fraud, the inspection advisory, plus whatever other documents, right? The CCPA. 5, 6 forms in one, just like the purchase agreement, right? So maybe you only need those 1 or 2 forms to get the transaction started. Okay. Grab what you need. Now, what we're going to do is with our bare minimum, we're now going to come over and we're going to edit that form. Whether you edit it in the classic or pro pick out whatever you need or the new edition. But now what we're going to do is we're going to type in some of our generic terms. What are some of our generic terms on the form? Anybody? Give me an example of a generic term. What was that? Agency disclosure is already there, but what would I? Brokerage, license, right? Things that hopefully aren't going to change, right? My name, right? Some of your office information, but wait a minute. What are some of the things that I negotiate for a buyer 95% of my time?
Right.
Not necessarily, because price is all relevant to the property, right? But maybe with my information typed here, do I have more all cash buyers or do I have more buyers that are loans? Do I put in some of this information? How many days escrow do I always shoot for? 30, 45, 622 days to close escrow, right? Put in those generic terms. Who pays for what? Buyer, seller, both? Those sections, fill in, again, a majority of that stuff that you negotiate for 90% of your clients, or 95%. Okay. Now, once you, and by the way, in your template, add your company disclosure. It's a PDF file, add it in. One less thing you have to worry about trying to remember to add, right? Now, once you're done adding all that in, now, once we go to create a new transaction, and I'm filling in my information, right? Now I should get a button down below that says select a template. From here, I can now click on my down arrow and choose what template I need for this transaction. Now, when I hit save, if I've done that import or MLS Connect or import or what have you, now all of a sudden I've applied, or what I will now go through and see, we've just added those forms. But now what I'm now going to do is go into the form and type in the specifics. What are my specifics? Address, offer, right? Maybe some things change, like instead of a 45-day escrow, the client tells me they now want to close on a particular date. And maybe instead of a loan, this is an all cash offer. So some of my terms will now change based on this transaction. But you'll notice here, I didn't have to grab the same forms and type everything in from scratch. Yes, sir.
So won't the data from your transaction, you've already selected the MLS, won't that pull that into there for you? So you don't really have to type in the address.
Don't have to type in the address,
Fill it.
but I'll put in my client's information, which might already be under the parties, right?
So in essence, we were talking about multiple offers. So we could really set up, I never thought about doing this. You could set up a template, one buyer,
You could,
get their information in, all the canned stuff, and then just pull that into each offer and then make
Which-
the modifications based on property.
yep, you
It
could.
would save a lot.
It would save a lot of time. You just gotta be careful not to apply that template by mistake to another transaction dealing with another client.
Offers.
Great for those of you representing investor clients who are buying up property, investment property. Sure, make a template for that investor. I usually look at it as you're going to have at least 3 to 5 templates. One for your buyer, one for your seller, right? One for a tenant, one for a landlord, and maybe one for disclosures. Right? That will work in conjunction with your seller's template. Not because your seller doesn't have to fill out disclosures right away, and you don't want to have to look at a plethora of forms. What we could do is back in the transaction summary, right? There is a button here that says apply a template. So even though after I've applied my seller's template to this transaction to get it started, I can now go back into the transaction, click on apply a template and select my disclosures template. To now grab the, 48 mandatory disclosures. And then I go through my list and add in whatever other extra stuff we might need to disclose. That wouldn't be in my template. So this whole point of a template is out, we can now grab stuff, have stuff already pre-typed in, where we can now minimize our editing of a form, but maximize our time. Because as we all know, our time is our money and our money is our time. Right? Anybody believe that? Right? Taking the time out today to learn these quick tips and tools, hopefully, to walk out of here stronger as an agent, making better transactions quicker.
More time on the golf course.
More time on the golf course, because you can now, or be in the plane with your internet, write up an offer, and by the time you land, it's already been sent out. And hopefully accepted. Yes, ma'am.
Is there only applicable in the classes, or can we also?
Right now, to apply the template is when we make the transaction, we can apply the template and at the summary. If we're in the forms area under the new edition, we can't apply the template yet. I'm hoping they'll have a button somewhere, maybe in the forms area, to apply a template. Because if you look at the new forms editor right away, there is no choice to make a template. So right now you're kind of double, dependent upon that top menu choice at the top. Next to where it says transactions, your templates to create them, and then back in your transactions to when you make it to then apply it.
Okay, so once we go to the new editor, there's no choice, but then if we're.
Right now, it's just editing the form in the new editor. It's not making the transaction from the new editor. It's not doing anything. Even though they've applied some new look to this, I don't know what else they're gonna do outside of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
You're welcome. Now, next thing that we'll go over, and sir, what's your name?
Rob.
Rob, you wanted to go over Forms Advisor. Now, I love this tool. What Forms Advisor allows us to do is answer a set of legal questions, and based on our answers, we'll suggest or imply what forms are required for that transaction. It is great for those of you brand new, not sure exactly what transaction or what documents you need. Great for us veterans in the business because maybe we come across something weird. We're just not sure exactly what documents we need for that scenario. So how we access Forms Advisor. Over here at the transactions area, at the very top, next to where it says new, off to the left is a tool here called TXN tools or transaction tools. We click on that, we have a bunch of choices here, one of which says Forms Advisor. When we click on Forms Advisor, what will now happen is we're going to be asked some information, starting with the transaction phase.
Is this the new one or the old one?
This is current. This is the current. So right now it's in the transaction level. This is what the suggested area is going to be at the forms. So instead of you answering questions, it's going to estimate what you might need. So here, what type of transaction are we dealing with? The purchase side, the leasing side, or something other? The purchasing of a property. Are we representing the buyer, the listing, the offer, post-contract, escrow, or cancellation of a contract? Maybe, I don't know, the buyer side. Here under the buyer side, we now are going to go through all these tabs and answer all these questions. Some of them are already defaulted, right? Or most of them are. Really easy, yes, no answers, right? Some of them, if it's got a multiple choice, click on the down arrow, select what you need, okay? We need to change an answer from yes to no or no to yes, just simply click on that choice to swap it. Once we're done with the first, we now say accept, go on to the next. Now you'll notice here, there are a lot of questions. Remember, these are lawyers asking you these questions. If you've ever watched any crime show where a lawyer is talking, what do? They end up asking you 15 different questions of the same thing, right? Anybody watch the Johnny Depp or trials, right? How many times do they ask him about certain things? And it was like, I already answered that, but I'll answer it again, right? Kind of the same thing. Remember, they're highly detailed. Now, if you don't know an answer to the question, that's okay. Answer it as best you can. The more accurate you are with your answers, the more accurate the system will be in suggesting the forms. Okay? It's kind of like a checklist, but maybe checklist is not necessarily the thing. It's mostly, hey, what type of transaction am I dealing with? You know, who's involved? You know, what do my clients need? Because maybe you're not sure what forms are needed for their scenario. Because every transaction, even though a lot of people go, well, are all transactions the same? No,
No.
no two properties are the same, even though they were built the same year, have the same square footage, bedroom, bathroom, and are literally next door to each other. They're both unique properties. It can. It could be based on your client. It could be based on whatever scenario that you might need help with in understanding what forms you need, right? So here, as you go through that list, answering things, right? You start off with about you, what your side does, about the property, about your clients, right? Here again, maybe you select some different answers, and I'm just going to choose things randomly here. We accept. Now we're at the transaction. Maybe something's not applicable. Will it be tenant occupied? No, the buyer's going to occupy it. You know, is there a good faith deposit? Is a non-purchase agreement? You know, that's great for if you're dealing with new home builds, whatever, right? Then at the end of the day, after you go through all those tabs, it's going to give you a summary. So basic, nice review of all what you've answered. And now at this point, what your answers were. And now at this point, when you hit I accept down below at the bottom right, you're going to name this session. And what's great about this is this almost acts like a template, right? So maybe standard buyer questionnaire, right? And now when we say, okay, the system's now going to analyze and it's going to tell us.
Be careful, you still have to go back to them, because even nothing's standard and.
That is
So
true.
there's questions in here about property, is the property before 94 or 78, blah, blah, blah. And every property changes, so just because you pull this up, you're gonna need to go in and make some changes.
Yeah, you're still going to need to go through that, but at least it's,
At least you've gotten the majority of your answers.
yeah. So here it says you're being recommended 25 forms. Now, what I can do is I can click on this and I can see what forms are needed. Now, what's cool about this is I get to see the form number, I get to see the form's name, but I'm also linked into two other benefits at CAR. The first benefit here, you'll notice a little guy with a cap on it. This is called the Forms Tutor. Now, I love Forms Tutor. By the way, the Forms Tutor is also a separate button outside of Forms Advisor. And what Forms Tutor allows us to do is learn our forms.
How to fill it out.
Not just how to fill it out, but what the terms of the contract mean. Okay? As you may or may not know, Orange County Realtors has 3 major forms classes offered roughly every month. One on the purchase agreement, one on the listing agreement, and one on standard disclosures. Okay? I love those classes, especially the ones that are free. Okay? But what happens here is that Forms Tutor now gives me the list of the 36 most commonly used forms. Like as an example, that RPA. Maybe I missed that RPA class. Or maybe young lady who's only been here for 5 days, you now get a chance to write up an offer, right? But you're just not sure exactly what the terms mean on a contract. Okay? Here, Forms Tutor breaks up the RPA because it's so large in 16 pages into 4 sections, pages 1 through 4, 5 through 9, 10 through 14, and pages 15 and 16. Now here, what I like about this is that when I click on that section, the purchase agreement is going to open up. Now it looks fairly regular, right? Except for these little fun little blue dots throughout every form, every page, every line. Now, what are these blue dots, you ask? When I click on a blue dot, I now get a written explanation of that line, of that paragraph, of that page. Now, how many of you in this room love to read? And I mean love to read, right? Now, I see a lot of heads shake, right? Just like clients. Clients don't like to read either, but I get it. It's already tough enough to read the legal language of a contract. Now you've got to read the legal explanation of that legal language of the contract. Let's cheat. What I love about this tool is that when you open up that blue box over here at the top left corner, we've got a play button. When I hit play, it reads that entire section for, word by word, right? So I've missed my RPA class at the board at my office, but now I need to write up an offer, and my fiduciary obligation is to make sure my client reads and understands all aspects of the form. How do I make sure that they understand it if I don't know it? Forms tutor. Now I can fully read this form, not only read it, but learn about it. But 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So now if I know this form, we're good to go, right? Hey, wait, there is more. We're also linked into the Q&A, legal Q&A section at CAR. So questions asked by you, the agents, to CAR Legal about that form and their legal response to that question. So now between these two types of tools, we can now learn the full aspects of why that form is here and being suggested. So if I know that full aspects of why that form is there and why they need to sign it, I can now more confidently explain that form to the client. And if I have more confidence, oh, you're welcome, Deb. Dallas, thank you so much. You're welcome. Have a good day. So if I know this form like the back of my hand, and why that's there, and I can answer my client's questions, or my client's going to have more confidence in me. So how we got to this is back under the transactions section. Fill out the forms tutor or forms advisor. So TXN tools at the transaction list, choose forms advisor, go through, answer your questions, right? Once you've answered your questions and you basically accept the answers, right? So here, let's just grab one. Once you accept all the answers, here are the all suggested forms. Now, one of the other cool features of this tool is that there is a choice when it works to, where is it? Get the recommended forms. And if I accept the terms, I can now, if I accept everything here.
One thing you said earlier, just for everybody to know,
Yes, sir.
after you accept the forms, before you try to transfer those documents into your transaction, like he suggested, print that page right there so that you have all that list, because when you go back, it'll be gone.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, if you've saved the session,
You don't have
because
to
those
go back.
sessions never go away. Right?
But you don't have to go back and.
You don't have to go back and look at this list, print out this list, do a screenshot, do whatever. That way you at least have the form number 3 templates. Also, you also have access to a sample PDF document of every form. Right? So you want to sit down, you want to go over things. The only thing you can't do is fill out these documents. Why? Sample is printed right across the form. But at least you got it and review it at your leisure, whatever. You can print this out. Now, I did see a hand raised.
Just like a question regarding this form tutoring, like, is there other way just accessing the form tutoring for every form other than like going through all the questions?
Besides this, back at that TXN tools, there is a choice underneath Forms Advisor that says Forms Tutor.
Okay, and then it goes on.
And then you would just be redirected back to CAR.org's website. And then you can find your form. So here you've got a couple of things. Now, from here, if it works, right? If it works, there will be a choice down below to either create a new transaction or apply it to an existing transaction. So now what should happen is if I create a new transaction, it should now grab all those forms and now make, if it works, hopefully it will. And I love how it uses the old term win forms, not zip forms. which is probably why we have some glitches going on. It says it was successful. Now all I need to do is close out of this tool. And now when I come back into my transaction list, there it is. When I go into my transaction that was just created and we look at our documents, there are all the forms. So it worked for us today. Yay. Now I will say that this will give you both sides of the transaction. Even though you're representing one side, they're telling you this is what you need for the entire transaction. So it's better to need it, not, it's better to have it, not need it, rather than need it, not have it,
That's
right?
when you go through and read the stuff, it doesn't matter, drag it into it.
Or drag it to a different folder. But again, as we talked about earlier, hey, I noticed that legal department says that this form is required. Can I get that form from you? The other agent on the other side might not have realized they needed that form. So it's a great communication back and forth and education back and forth with each other that we need, right? So this is a great fun tool. Are there any questions on forms of tutor or forms advisor? Anybody excited about those?
Yeah.
Good, all right. Okay, I am going ready to, that's our last section today. But before I go to that, are we good to go? Are there any questions before we proceed on to our last?
So
Topic
especially
today.
now, you have to be so careful with hills, fire zone, non-insurable.
Yeah, wildfires, you have wildfire disclosure. Now that we've got San Clemente's properties falling off the cliffs and water and all. It's funny, I got emails the other day or yesterday. Hey, are you concerned about flooding? And I'm like, oh, geez, for the next couple of weeks, we're now, not seeing any rain. I'm like, oh, a little bit too late, right?
And it's
But-
short, too.
Insurances and everything. These are all things that why documents and forms are constantly changing and being added. So we now need to be very mindful of that. So, and maybe you submit that list to your broker. Hey, based on my questions or my answers, this is what I need. Does this look right to you? Maybe even the broker office manager didn't realize that.
And the zonings are changing right now too, at least in San Diego.
California is, yeah, that's because California is now encouraging people to,
Make double two places out of one.
I think that's why you would think
Maybe,
builders with lots of money and would be encouraged to build more homes, more affordable. Gotta love politics, but that's for a whole nother session offline, but it's all good. More and more disclosures, more and more, especially if they didn't get it permitted. Yeah, gotta be careful of it. All right, are there any other questions before we proceed? All right,
Just to reconfirm, so basically we use the form tutor to find out what are the forms that will be applicable, whether it's for both transactions.
Mhm.
Then we can maybe go to our broker to say, okay, out of all of this, what would you recommend? Okay, that's how we use that.
Mhm.
tool, Right?
Yep.
Actually, it's.
And-
by-
Forms and, oh yeah, I'm sorry, forms advisor. Yes, forms advisor. And here's another added bonus. Say this was something that you go, well, geez, I don't want to have to recreate a template, right? Or now I need to create a template, even though I've made a transaction. If I move my mouse over top of this transaction's blue arrow that appears at the top right corner when I hover my mouse over it, there is a choice here called copy to template or save as a template. So before I even write up terms, I can now take these documents not that are for this transaction and maybe any other transaction. I can now make a template out of this and then type in my generic stuff too. So I have multiple ways of doing things just from that, because of that forms advisor. Yes, sir.
Oh, just to clarify, so what you're saying is if I set up a purchase offer,
Mhm.
but I hadn't
And
had a property in it yet, that would be my way to, right now, copy it to the next one. Make it.
well, not even copy
Make
it,
it, I'm sorry, make the template,
make the
there.
template from the transaction.
okay.
So it's now available in my transaction or my
Okay,
template
that's better.
list. So instead of it, having to go under templates, create a new one. Hey, these are the documents before I type in any terms for this particular person. Click on that down arrow and then say, save as a template, name it. And now at least these documents are in the template. Now I can go in at my time and type in some of my generic stuff. And for your investor client, you can do the same thing. Just take out the specifics in the template section, like the address, the offer, the whatever stuff that doesn't apply for every transaction. Does that make sense? Like the offer price, the close of escrow date, the offer dates, things like that.
But if they have specific things they always want in every offer, you can hardball that, hard code all that stuff in.
Yep. Yep. All right. Last thing that we'll go over today is digital signing. Right now, you've got a choice of not just 2, but 3 choices. You have DocuSign, you have digital ink, and you now have AuthentiSign.
That's not formal yet, is it?
Oh, it's
Time?
AuthentiSign is actually,
I know,
oh, it's up and running.
it is?
Yep, that's what we're going to use today.
Oh, good.
So real quickly, digital ink 2.0, DocuSign. What's the big difference between the two? Digital ink is your free member benefit. Okay. DocuSign is a third-party member tool. You go to DocuSign.com, you can sign up for their account. They do have a free account that you can sign up for. The free account allows you to, per month, send out 1 transaction 5 times for digital signatures at no cost, or 1 transaction 5 times that month at no cost, or a combination of the 2. Anything above and beyond those 5 digital signature sessions, they now want you to pay. Their payment is about $240 per year. That's the Realtor discount.
Which is what.
Prove you wrong today. And that is true. This young lady just said, DocuSign is totally worth $240. And that was true about 10, 15 years ago when Digital Ink did first start up. Digital Ink, being your free member benefit, allows you to sign unlimited transactions, unlimited amount of times at no cost to you. Right? Now, Digital Ink, when it first started up, was horrible. It was complicated to use. It was not very client or user friendly. So agents like this young lady said, I want something easy. Let me pay for DocuSign and charge me hundreds of thousands of dollars each and every year for using it, right? Now, I will tell you that Digital Ink has vastly improved, or did vastly improve over the years to be just as easy as DocuSign.
You're talking about DigiSign?
DigiSign.
I can't stand it.
Well, that's your personal preference and you're allowed for that, right? But in our digital age of being updated, just like with the zipForms, the new forms editor is being updated. So they have now released a new product called AuthentiSign. Now you would think, what is AuthentiSign replacing? AuthentiSign is replacing Digital Ink 2.0. Okay? Because you're going to go, oh my gosh, do I have to pay for it now? The answer is no. Just like with Digital Ink, it is going to be absolutely free. So the big difference is going to be this: $240 out of your pocket or free. $240 or free.
Complicated.
Super complicated, right?
Improve.
So why would anybody want, like, why? Personal preference mostly, right? But my job is to show you your free stuff.
Right.
I can show you
Just-
digital DocuSign in another class, which DocuSign is great. Don't get me wrong. It's very user friendly. It's got some stuff, but I will tell you that this new AuthentiSign does blow DocuSign out of the water.
Wow. That's
And if
the
you're
great-
like me on a super tight budget, right? Only allowed $7 a week for lunch. On top of using that $7 to buy gas. Carpooling with friends becomes really easy, right? So this is what we're going to do. Now, you can practice this because, like with transactions, you can create unlimited transactions at no extra cost to you, right? You can also, with AuthentiSign, send unlimited amount of time. So with your test transaction that you will be making, the only 2 things that are going to be required is a property address and a client's name on a contract. Well, guess what? We're going to make up an address, right? And we're going to make ourselves the signer. Because we don't want to accidentally practice this and actually send it to a real client until we get good at it. Okay? But it's going to be super easy. So when we're in a form, and we're in the new forms editor, we could, after we write up our terms, in a form, under the forms area, go to that little pencil icon, right? Stop, don't do it. Instead, at the top right corner, come over to that big blue button that says prepare signing. Under prepare signing, here we go. I love the fact that they got rid of this choice, like new authentic sign or alternate signing. They got rid of that last week. Yay, good, thank goodness. Choose one. DocuSign, authentic sign, digital link. Guess what? Digital link will be going away. Pretty soon it'll only be these two choices. So for those of you who are using DocuSign, did you know that you can do DocuSign within your zip forms? Good. There are a lot of agents that don't. What they do, they now export the documents as a PDF file, then they upload them into DocuSign, then they have to pre-place everything manually. Nowadays, it's all built in. Okay. So here we go. We're going to now choose new authentic sign. Yes, sir. Nope, not yet. But we will need to select the
You can
documents.
do it before or after.
You can do it before or after, but we're going to do it before we select any documents. So say you're in the middle of typing one up and you've typed everything out in that entire workspace, right? Purchase agreement, the Avid, your company disclosure, or the PDF document. Yes. As long as it's in a transaction. So you can make a transaction, call it test, and then you can send it out to your friends, colleagues, the electric company, whatever, of those documents. Okay. Now, here's a couple of nuances. Now that I've selected new authentic sign, it says here the signature session name. Now it defaults to purchase agreement because that's the first document, but what we can do is maybe say, I can type Mary and, Burton, offer signing. Okay, whatever you need to type the subject line to be. Now, here's a different nuance that we're not used to. If you were using Digital Link 2.0 or DocuSign through zipForms, when you send out a document for signatures, the system at the end of the day, after all signers were done, will automatically place the signed documents back in your transaction.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Fortunately, right now, new authentic sign says, do you want to return it to a folder? And there's nothing selected. So it doesn't know what to do with the documents other than email you and all the signers their signed PDF documents. So this is what we need to remember to do. We need to select where we want the documents to be returned to, not just in an email, but where back in this transaction. Return to a particular folder. So here, we're going to now select the main folder. So after everybody's done signing the documents, the signed documents will return back into this folder. Now, we're going to create this session. From here, we're going to start with, unlike what we're used to doing in the classic edition, selecting the documents first and then selecting the signers, the system automatically defaults us to the signers first. So here, whether it's DocuSign or Digital Link, we're going through this. We're going to say add to participants. Who are we adding? Are we adding them new or from the transaction? Anybody? From the transaction, right? So now it looks at everybody who's on these contracts. Guess what? I'm going to select Mary and Bob and of course myself. Now I do have the listing agent here. I can select the listing agent. But wait, if I'm writing up an offer and I'm signing the offer and I select the listing agent, and this is a common mistake, they get it. What am I now asking them to do? I'm asking them to sign and accept my offer before they've had a chance to review. Which, guess what? Most of these listing agents aren't doing it. Why? Why am I going to be forced to sign an acceptance of your offer when I haven't had a chance to review it? Now, if they don't sign it, guess what happens? The documents aren't done being signed. They're not done being signed. No official signed offer has been submitted.
Right.
So technically, your offer wasn't ever submitted.
Yeah.
But I want the listing agent to get the copy of the signed contracts. Instead of choosing them as a remote signer, I'm going to now click on the down arrow and select a CC. That means not only do me and my signers get a signed copy of the contracts, but also anybody I've selected as the CC.
Okay.
So I could have, in the next step, when I select the documents, everybody sign, and then after everybody signs, not only do my signers, but now the listing agent gets my signed documents too. Yes,
And,
now that's providing I have all the other necessary documents, proof of funds, earnest money
that's
deposit,
what I was gonna say, can you pull those into this?
in the next step.
Gotcha, okay, thank you. Sorry, didn't mean to cut that.
No. But I could also have my TC, my assistant, my office manager, whoever else needs to see these documents, the attorneys. The attorneys don't need to necessarily sign them, but in my CCs. Right? And the problem is though, the listing agent doesn't necessarily need to see all the forms. Like if I had my buying agent commission agreement,
Yeah.
does the listing agent need to see that? Unfortunately, no. So be mindful of that. If that's part of this signature session, they're going to get a copy of it. My suggestion always is don't include the listing agent until after everybody is done signing.
So it would be better to do it after then.
It would be better to do it after. But I know how agents like to be efficient, right? And this is what they do, but what they don't do is they don't change them from the remote signer process. And then they go and get highly upset, and their clients are highly upset. Well, how come the listing agent said my offer was never submitted? I did submit it to them. No, you required them to sign and they didn't do it. So be careful. Now, after I select the signers and I say select, we see them right here. Now, in the old classic edition, when we selected the signers, I usually put a number next to the signer, right? Number 1, number 2, number 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Usually that meant the order in which the emails go out in. 1 gets the email first before number 2, number 3. Number 3 doesn't get the email until number 1 and number 2 have signed, right? And a lot of people used to go, well, geez, I want everybody to get it all at once, and they made everybody number 1, right? Lots of steps. Guess what? At the very top, right above the signer, says set signing order. You'll notice that's in the off position. That means that when I send this out, all of the signers get the documents at the same time to sign. It's automatically default. There's nothing wrong with it except in 2 scenarios.
You have it on.
No, I have it off. I have it off. I'll show you the on position in a second. If Bob and Mary share one email address, there's now 2 emails in their email, which now if Bob clicks on one of those links, he goes to sign documents, he's now signing as Mary. Mary clicks on a link, she might be accidentally signing as Bob. Now I know some of us go, well, why would I mean, what's the big deal? Can't spouses sign for each other? Technically, according to California state law, no. Not without a power of attorney. Spouses have to sign individually. So in those cases, if they do share one email address, turn on the signing order. Also, the other scenario of why I want a signing order, I need to go over the contracts with the clients, either at time of signing or around times. If I send it out to everybody all at the same time, it's like herding cats trying to go over the documents together, right? Because as we all just realized, our clients don't read a lot of times the signed documents, right? We gotta make sure that they read and understand everything. We have to go over that. We have to perform our fiduciary duty. Now, unless I'm doing a Zoom meeting either day of, day before, I send it out, or right at that moment, how can you get a chance to go over the documents individually? I always like to suggest setting a signing order. Turn it on. Now, we can rearrange this. What happens in your conversation, Bob says, you know what, I can't get to the documents until 10 tonight, but my wife, Mary, can get to them in about 5 or 10 minutes. Do I want Mary second or first? Guess what? Come over here to that 6 little dots, click and hold with my mouse, drag it above or below and switch the order. Super easy. I could technically make everybody number 1. But again, turn off the signing order if you're doing that. It's up to you. Okay. So you can do this. Okay. Now, the more important part. How do I make sure everybody's signature and initials are on these documents? We go to the docs. When we go to the docs, we can now select what documents from our transaction. If they weren't already in my workspace, I can now come over to add a doc, grab the documents out of my transaction or from my computer and add it as part of this signature session. The young lady outside of the documents, your own personal stuff. As long as you have something in the transaction, you can also add in extra stuff. Okay. Now, once we do this, we're going to immediately see that 95% of our forms already have the digital areas pre-placed. If we scroll down, color coded, this is where their signatures are already there. There are signatures and initials on all the forms.
Okay, so can you do that? Can you sign your name?
Not right at this moment because we're in edit mode, right? We haven't sent it out yet. So right now I'm just verifying to make sure everybody's names are placed on these documents. Everybody's information's on there. The dates, yes. Yep. There's that little date box there. So whenever they click to sign, that date that they signed it will be automatically filled in. Now, doesn't mean that I have to, I can't place extra stuff on, right? Like that PDF file. Or even an existing form. Maybe I want somebody to initial or whatever. Back over to the docs, tools. Here are the tools. So here we've got who we're currently looking at and editing tasks for, right? I can click on the down arrow, access my signers. Here are the tasks that I can drag and place on a form. So if I needed an initial here for buyer 1, select the buyer. Now grab their initials, drag it, place it. Again, buyer 2, click, drag, place. Okay. So I can actually add in extra spots if I wanted to on a form, but more importantly, we now need to come down to that PDF.
Not used to be like that.
What was that?
It's pretty much like a DocuSign.
Yeah, it's just like DocuSign, except it's free. Right?
Hopefully a lot
I
of
mean,
stuff.
it's a whole hassle to cancel DocuSign. I have to like email them and like, it's just impossible. You cannot cancel it from the account. You have to like email them.
You have to email them. I'll show you, I can show you how to cancel this or even force signature. But here, why don't we do this? We've got that TOA and we see here, there's a section that they need to sign or initial, right? Here's something that DocuSign doesn't do. Wouldn't it be nice just to drag over everybody's signature placement automatically or in one fell swoop? When I select the signers, there is a choice here that says all signers. That means whatever I'm doing, I'm now affecting everybody. So now I'm going to drag over their sign here button, bring it over in the form, and there's all their signatures. Now all I need to do is just place where they need to go on that form, that document. Right? So now we've just quickly and easily dragged over those signatures for that one form. Right? Just like that PDF document. I now just select the signers, drag where I need it to go, in place, right? But wait, I now need their printed names on that document. Here, underneath the signer actions, there is a choice that's called signer fields. So maybe I need Bob's signature here, but I need his printed name above that signature, like page 16 of the RPA contract. I can now grab that full name, drag and place it, and there's Bob's printed name on this form. Just like with Mary, need her printed name on that form. So this is a quick and easy way of dragging that. If we needed to add in checkboxes, there is a checkbox choice. Here, if I clicked on it, we just added one, and now we can drag it and place it where it needs to go, which is really neat. Now, at the end of the day, all I need to do is come over to the top right, click next. From here, unlike DocuSign, unlike digital ink, they default to a 7-day signing period. They've got 7 days to sign and initial those forms, right? Time's of the essence, right? They're accepting, they're going through reviewing offers and at 5 o'clock. I can now indicate when that session needs to expire. Or even better yet, we got the disclosures, right? I'm going to give them time to fill out those disclosures and sign those disclosures. I'm going to give them 3 weeks, but I'm going to give them a reminder every day at 9 a.m. when they wake up. Or you know what? Mary likes to wake up at 10. Every day at 10 o'clock, she's going to get a reminder. Did you sign the documents? Did you sign the documents? Did you sign the documents? Until she signs it. Probably by day 3, she's just going to hopefully sign it. Not day 33, right? Now all I need to do at this point is hit send. And when I hit send, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the documents are now emailed out, ready for signature. Any questions on the setting up process? Look pretty fun and easy, right? Free is not looking too bad all of a sudden, right? We can practice this. Now, what does a signer go through? Let's pull that up. Hopefully we get this. Now in our 5-minute time frame, or I should say within 5 minutes, what should happen is that you see there at the very top, we got an email, your signature is requested on the Marion Burton offer signing. We click on it. Unlike DocuSign where it's nice, what? Dark blue and yellow, it's kind of the white and blue. Here, we're going to hit click, start signing. Right away, do you accept your agree to terms of usage? Make sure that they read through this. There are some legalities behind what digital signatures are legally required to do. Now, a couple of nice things I like about this. Number one at the top tells us our progress. We've got 31 items to sign, complete, and review out of all these documents, right? Everybody loves progress. All we now need to do is hit start. If we hit reject, guess what that does? Stops.
They don't want to sign.
They don't want to sign anything, right? They rejected it.
And they think that is just to fix the page. It's not.
No, it's not. Make sure you know, which is why we go over and call them and say, hey, Bob, hey, Mary, let's go over the documents together.
You see that big, oh, I made a mistake. I'll just cancel this.
Exactly. Now, when we hit start, look at that. We drop down to the first page. Did we read anything? No. This is why we want to encourage somebody to always read through what it is that they're signing. Because when they click there, they can select a font style of how their name is going to appear on that document. Or they could, if they are using a touchscreen computer, tablet, whatever, right? Or they could upload their own picture signature. Chances are people are always going to pick out their styles. Okay. Once they do that, by the way, it says, remember my signature for future signings. So any future documents for future transactions, it's going to keep everything consistent. Here we're going to set signature. And now we just went down to the PRVS. Did we read anything? No. But we're off to the races. So what does this say? Like DocuSign, digital ink, it is very easy to digitally sign a document and not read a single thing, right? Anybody here ever sign up for a website? You ever see do you agree to our terms of usage?
Oh,
Yeah? Has anybody ever read through that? No, you should. Especially when it comes to data collection and selling your data. Okay? Make sure that you read what it is that you're signing, okay, and agreeing to. I get it, sometimes the 100th document or the 100th transaction, you're used to it, but always have the client review it, especially if you accidentally make a mistake on numbers or terms, right? Oh, that's right, I forgot. You wanted to offer this price, not that price. You wanted a 45-day escrow on this property, whereas the other one was a 30-day. I'm so sorry. Right? You want to catch that. Now, unlike DocuSign, did you know that there are 2 optional areas on the RPA? You might know that? 2 optional areas. That is the paragraph of the liquidated damages and the arbitration paragraphs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Those clearly state optional. Now, DocuSign does put in the optional area, but you're so fast signing, it doesn't give you a real clear flag as to that option being there. Here in AuthentiSign as well as digital ink, it flags it with a different color. But if I do click on this choice, it does ask me, do I accept these terms or decline them? So it makes sure that the client really wants to do this or not. If they say, no, I decline this one, and I decline that one, now we're back to red of the required. Okay, now after they're done signing this one, we'll just go through this super quickly. There you go.
Do we have the ability to do that also in setting up on the tool page?
Yeah. Well, no, it's automatically set up.
No,
So-
but on something else. Let's say we have
Yeah.
third-party-
So when you drag over the initial, there's a setting, a gear icon that will allow you to make it optional. And then it'll change it as a different color. Now, the client, this person signed it, they can print it or download it, but guess what? It's only going to have their signature on it. We've got others, it's not going to give them anything. So at this point, all they need to do is close out. In the same 2-minute time frame, the next signer is now being requested to send out the documents or sign. Okay. Now, there was an earlier question. Oh, I wish there was an easy way to force stop signing. And there is. So this transaction that we just signed, we can come back into the transaction, go to where it says e-sign. Right? And where is it?
In the dark.
Yeah, no, I saw that, but I wanted to see.
I'm in the right, and just the right. When you're in the transaction, if you go over to the right, it'll say e-sign, and that gives you a history of this.
Where do you see that up to the right?
It says history that e-sign.
Oh, yes. You're right. Thank you. Yeah, because they've separated it now. So here, if I look at the e-sign history, we see that it's sent. Okay, I can click on this little arrow. So here, what I can do is I can resend the invitation. I can edit. So if I discovered that I sent it to a bad email, I can modify it. But more importantly, I can also, where is it? For signing completion.
By mistake, press the reject button, you can go back. to the-
Resend it. And actually, let's click on this. Yeah. So when I click on it itself, there should be a action items. And what is that? Latest, reset, duplicate, add a CC. Thought there used to be a
There's a
delete.
or something.
There used to be a delete on here. I don't see delete. Maybe it's at the bottom middle. Nope. But here I can, it shows me where in the loop. So we see Bob signed, it went off to Mary, and we're waiting for me, right? We could do that. Or I could, in some cases, you know what, let's just force the signing completion. So maybe we need to just stop it and then delete out the documents, kind of thing. But no matter what, at the end of the day, the moment I hit force signing, in about 5 minutes, they will appear in this transaction.
What does the fourth sign do?
It stops wherever we're at and it says it's completed. So now I can see the document if I'm having it sent back here, and then I could delete them because, geez, I wrote up bad terms and then resend it again. Or, you know what? Maybe Bob all of a sudden was in a car accident. Okay, well, Mary signed it, but let me go to the hospital and get Bob. Those types of scenarios. Not that Bob would be signing in the hospital, but the scenario of, oh, my email bit was hacked or I can't see it, you know. Okay, well, one of our two parties signed it. Let me force and then.
So basically you would stop it until you figure out what you want to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
But if you're gonna delete, you're also gonna wanna go back into the e-sign and delete it there too.
Oh,
If it, yeah, I tried it, it didn't have a delete button.
You wanna
No,
eliminate their ability to go in and view that wrong copy.
they'll get they'll get the completed copy of wherever it's at currently. So if I was just saying it to buyer one, buyer two, and myself, then everybody would get that, but it's only got Bob's signature on it. It's not fully executed. So I would just tell them delete it. I'll resend it again. We'll write up the term, but here's the completed document or documents. And if we look at it real quick and open it up, we should see Bob's initials, you know, on this file, on these documents, which is really cool. So I kind of like that. And then from here, I can email it, print it, whatever.
How are you able to break out?
When I have them individual like this, no, because they're kind of already broken down to the individual file. So then all I would need to do, if I needed just the purchase agreement, but not my Avid, I would just select what I wanted to send. Right? And then at the very top, we should have a send button and email it.
Okay, so I see. It has the first one to the far left is the bulk. It's everything. And then it also puts out one each. Next, okay.
And you have a verification or a proof of signature, which you wouldn't send off to the other agent.
Well, I've been making mistakes. I've been playing with this
Mhm.
and I haven't been setting up the folder. You just pointed that out. That's where I was trying to figure out why it's not putting anything in there.
Yeah, set up the folders and then that way you can dump them right in there.
Right. I've been getting the email and then downloading it the hard way. So
It
that's
happens.
where I was like, well, I can't break it out. It's a pain. Now I gotta manipulate. Yeah. Okay, this is a lot better.
Good. Now I know I went over by 20 minutes. I apologize, but did you all like today? Was this helpful? Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am. Mhm.
How can
So I'm going to send you a copy of today's recording, if not today, tomorrow, hopefully. And then what I would suggest is make a transaction and call it test. Add at least one or two forms so you can play around with the new edition. Make yourself the signer, like if you're writing the purchase agreement, make yourself the buyer, right? Write up whatever fun little terms you want, as long as you make up an address, 123 Main Street. Then you can set yourself up on the signature platform to try it out and pull stuff over and have all sorts of fun with it. That way, when we're working with a real client, she's stuck or he's stuck. Okay, well, did you go here? Did you go there? Did you look in your junk mail? Okay, and then let's walk you through it. Click start. Don't hit reject. Choose your font style. But there we go. That way, it's just you've practiced and practiced, so that way you're not stuck.
And I'll give one thing I've learned is you can actually call Lobo and they will get on with you and help you when you're having something.
Same thing with CAR, if you give them a call, they do the same thing,
They able to share screen with you?
if you ask them to.
Oh, they can. Oh,
Or you invite them to your own Zoom and then walk you through it, or even OC Tech Helpline. We'll go through your technical needs, one of which is, can you help me maneuver through this, or give me a call or an email, and we can do a one-on-one. So you got it. All right, other than that, thank you all very much. Hopefully I'll see you for our 1 o'clock. Other than that, have a great day, y'all.
Thank you.
Here until 4 today.
Woo-hoo. The next class is